I'm gonna turn my video off.
Okay. Okay, it's 5:02. Should we let people in?
If the live stream is on, yes.
All right, I'm letting them in.
So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. You are at the Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action's Vision Forward, what I wish I would have said. This is part 3 of a 4-part series. Today, Kara Kelly will be leading us through today's exercises. And we have what we call our production team in the background. So Rebecca from Wheaton, Illinois, Laura, Melissa is here, Joe Woods is here, and Bruce Harris. Hopefully I have not forgotten anybody. I am Chris Weldy, and I am the co-lead for this project called Vision Forward 2.0. And what we're going to do right now is just kind of wait for everybody to join us. So if you could, as you are coming in, just go ahead and put your name, or I'm sorry, where you're from in the chat. And if you're connected with a specific group, you can go ahead, or even groups, you can go ahead and put that. And we are going to get started shortly. We have, we are expecting about 80 people tonight. It looks like we have about 42 that have joined us so far. And we're just gonna wait as folks kind of trickle in from all these various places. So hello, Linda and Cindy and Randall from California. Welcome, welcome. Cheryl from Chicago. And oh, wow, lots of new faces. Hi, Ori. Mark Timbers also. Hi, Marcia and Linda Human. I'm gonna tell you, I'm having some internet connectivity issues. Hopefully, it cooperates with me and I don't get dropped, but I'm not the host of the call. So even if I do drop and have to sign back in, I guess Rebecca will keep this all going. We're up to about 44, which is about half of what we expect. Hey, Bill, do you want to go ahead and do your Northwest Suburbs overview while we're waiting for the rest of the folks to join us?
I would love to, if Rebecca will make me a co-host so that I can share my screen.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right. And
I'm sharing my screen now.
okay.
Going to take a second.
We're up to about 45 and Bill's, yeah, no worries. We have time. It's only 5:05. We're starting to see it, or at least we see something that says keynote. Which might be the keynote for the No Kings. We might be getting a sneak preview.
Okay. All right. I finally
All
brought
right,
it up.
we see your screen now, Bill.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the Northwest Suburbs Organizing for Action, commonly known as NWSOFA. We're in the Northwest suburbs of Chicago, the land beyond O'Hare, and we are an indivisible chapter. We are one of 2,700 indivisible chapters across the country. Each one of those little dots is a chapter. We're growing nationally at about 3 to 4 a day. And there also are being peppered across Europe, Asia, Mexico, and Canada now. So it's quite an organization. the whole reason that we do these programs is to help you, the attendees, understand the facts. And right along with that, corollary to that is to help you sharpen your arguments with your family, your friends, yourselves. And maybe we shouldn't be using the word arguments. Maybe we should say sharpen your discussions. And then that all leads to an ability to communicate to a much broader, larger audience that you're not afraid to talk with. So NWSOFA was started about 12 years ago. We started with 17 members. So never give up. Today we have over 9,700 members. We're organized on the twin snowflake principle. On the left-hand side, in the orange, are all the communications teams. What we do every day to get the information out to make sure that you see that we've got this coming. If you think we over communicate, we probably do, but we want to make sure that you are part of the process, that you see what we're doing. On the right-hand side are our 19 different issue teams. We started with our very first one, gun violence prevention, right after Sandy Hook, just to kind of give you an idea. And it's growing all around the outside in the turquoise. And then in a year ago, January, we started adding new teams on the inside there. So a total of 19 teams. And we couldn't do it without this amazing group. I call it our secret sauce, 30 all volunteers from across the country that work on these programs. Most of the people work on the leads, on the issue teams. Many of them also help us out with the communications team. So today we are live recording this on our YouTube channel. It's up on our website, NWSOFA.org. You see that at the very top here. And then when you get into that, go and click on the tab that says YouTube channel. And then there'll be one more click when you link to the YouTube channel, and you'll see 5 different or 6 different tops. You want to click on the live, and then you'll see all the current YouTubes. Since we are live, this video is being recorded with about a 35-second delay. So if you have to leave this call, or if you have to take a break, you can come back and get caught up just by going to the tab there. So just want to remind everybody, March 28th is No Kings 3. So this particular conference is going to be dealing with breakout rooms and having questions and answers or discussions that'll happen after that. So with that, thank you for being here. And I'm going to turn this back over to the team.
Okay. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and get started. We have about 50 people on the call. And Rebecca, there we go. Okay. So again, welcome. So this is the third of a 4-session series called What I Wish I Would Have Said. And our goal is to give you skills to have better conversations, especially when you're talking across the political divide. But for those of you who have been with us for a while, we actually started our practice without doing even working on political conversations, because we know sometimes that can be contentious, and then you may miss the point of the skill that we're teaching. Go ahead, Rebecca, next slide. So this series is part of it's a continuation of a messaging initiative that we had called Vision Forward. We're now calling this Vision Forward 2.0 because it's our second iteration, and we've now kind of have 4 different lines of effort. So just to clarify, it's a coordinated set of programs designed to help people like you, whether it's activists or volunteers, community members, to develop the skills to become conversational activists, which is how I see all of you, and give you the opportunity to communicate clearly, calmly, and persuasively about democracy. especially in moments of confusion, misinformation, or division. This particular session is part of our Learning Lab series, and we started off with Kara, but we actually do have a couple other people in the group that later will be doing their own sessions under the Learning Lab banner. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is introducing you to Kara Kelly, who is our host for this evening session. Kara is a communication coach by profession, although she had a little bit of an interesting background in that she initially graduated from college. Her undergraduate degree is in engineering. You'll notice the little sparkly wand. So periodically on Coffee and Conversation and some of our other sessions, Kara has her magic wand, and that's part of kind of her brand. And we're hoping to take some of that magic and skill that Kara brings regarding communications and transfer that to our own, knowledge, skills, competency, so we can use that going forward. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to, I believe, Rebecca, who's going to go over the ground rules.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So before we get started with our program today, we've got a couple of ground rules. And if you're new to NWSOFA, or even if you've been around NWSOFA a while, this might be a little bit different than other meetings that you come to. Because this is a learning lab, we're going to ask that people do try to stay really focused, and that means keeping the chat focused as well. So try to avoid sharing breaking news or like headlines or whatever. We're focused. We'll learn best when we focus on the task at hand. So if you're able, stay engaged with the material, avoid multitasking, and at times our facilitator, Kara, will ask for audience participation. And just as a heads up, there will also be one breakout room, which will be about 8 minutes. So there is going to be an opportunity for participation. A note on questions: if you have questions, you can post them in the chat, and to make sure that folks are able to see it, please put the word question in front of your question. And I think that's it for now. So with that, we'll hand it over to Kara to begin today's session.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Late afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you, Bill and Chris and Rebecca, for that introduction. This series of workshops came about really from something that I used at work, which was, I think I called it like skills for better conversations. And it really has been tailored because of all the people in this NWSOFA community asking me questions about, and me trying to, give pointers about how to talk with people about politics. Those conversations are challenging and they're special. They have special issues when you're trying to have conversations about that. So this workshop series is really adapting those general kinds of skills with possibly some targeted pointers just specifically for political conversations. So, these are the things that I heard from people, that, have you ever like just wanted to retract what you just said in a conversation because it set somebody off and now they're off on a rant, and, you've ruined Easter dinner or whatever. Have you ever had your conversations go awry really with just one comment that you didn't really mean to? Have you ever wished that the other person would just listen to your point of view? I'm right. You got it. You're so wrong about this. So those are the kinds of challenges that we have with political conversations. And the last two bullets are really important in terms of some people experience like they're hearing their close friends, family, neighbors, coworkers say things, and you just think, oh, it doesn't even seem to match the values that I think this person has. So that's a special kind of situation. How do you handle that? And then lastly, most people, they want to preserve the relationship. They're trying to have these conversations and they don't want to damage the relationship. And so all those are considerations when we're trying to have conversations of this type. So this workshop is kind of to learn and practice those skills, and we're going to focus on avoiding arguments, recovering from those stuck dialogues where you're just kind of going back and forth and you're not really progressing. And also to kind of learn and practice how to steer your conversations so that you can move the needle, but all the while preserving the relationship. Next slide. Okay, so this is each session is kind of going to start with our homework from the last session. So that's what we'll start with today. So each time there's a little bit of a homework practice. And then there's some new concepts we'll introduce, and we will share examples to illuminate those concepts. And then we'll provide a chance to practice. That's our breakout session. And then I'll have more homework to give so that we can practice. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is our agenda. I kind of highlighted the two new topics. We're going to jump into skill 4, kind of introduce that, and then we're also going to talk about 7 ways to avoid an argument. And by the way, some of those things came directly from this audience or the NWSOFA community, I guess I would say, as a result of conversation. So that's very exciting to have that happen, where I'm learning from you is what I'm saying. Okay, next slide, please. So this is last week's homework. So just a reminder, we watched a video, and the practice was to really focus on, this is skill number 3, powerful questions and guiding people to self-discover. So we're going to review both of those. And by the way, I know at least one person was new here. And so you will, we are going to review some concepts, and you will still learn stuff. It won't, there'll be plenty for you to learn, even though you missed maybe the first session or two. So don't worry, hang in there. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the video. His name is Jefferson Fisher. He was being interviewed, actually. He has a lot of little videos, and this one was called You Don't Have to Fight. And the big thing that I took from him was this number 1 on the slide. You don't have to attend every argument that you are invited to. I thought that was a great way to kind of phrase this, and he actually says this quite a bit in a lot of his videos. He talks about that a lot. I wanted to gather feedback next. Rebecca, is that oh, it's way down at the end of the slide. That's okay. You can go ahead and show all the points. Okay, so we wanted to have a discussion for those who got a chance to watch the video. What points resonated with you? Or there's some things that jumped out. Raise your hand and we'll call on you.
I can't raise my hand. Oh, Lillian is saving me. Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Lillian. Oh,
Oh,
unmute.
Lillian, you have to unmute.
All the points resonated with me. However, the one that I really liked was never try to win an argument my notes say that equals losing a friendship. Losing a friendship. If you try to win an argument, you will lose the friendship.
Great. Thank you, Lillian. And by the way, Lillian is such a star pupil. Oh my God.
No,
I might use the story you shared today in coffee chat. That might come out of my mouth of how you handled something. Okay, next person.
Yeah, Bruce, go ahead.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he said he was an attorney. Am I correct?
Correct. You are
And
correct.
that's why I was surprised, because he says you don't have to win every argument. And That's something for an attorney to be saying. And I also thought it was interesting when he said that when he was an associate, all the associates did not like the partners. And when he became a partner, all the partners didn't like the associates. I thought that was kind of revealing.
Yeah, he was talking, Bruce, about why people take things personally, that you're just the center of your universe. It's just a normal, a natural human thing to do that, and you have to fight again. You have to be aware of it if you want to change that. Okay, next person.
Hello, Joan from Northern Illinois in Rockford. And when he said you don't have to join all of the arguments that you're invited to, I thought that was a really good idea.
Yes. Thank you, Joan.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one more, Chris?
Yeah, actually, Joan got it. I just love that statement framed that way because when I think about conversations specifically with one person in my family who
Yes.
continually, I think, actually baits me to argue, I'm like, you know what? I don't have to attend this argument. I think I'm just going to pass. So anyway, I love that. I'm going to have it floating in my head. So thanks.
Good, great. And Chris, I know you know some of these, but we're going to learn 7 ways to avoid that argument and continue the conversation and
Right.
hopefully move the needle instead of
Yeah,
arguing.
right, right.
Who's next? Anyone else? I don't see any other hands. Okay, we'll move on. These other points we've already covered one very well. Number two was kind of jumped out at me, um, and I tried to write down exactly what he said. We get defensive on behalf of all the people that help shape who we are. So that what that means is you're saying I'm wrong about this. You're saying my grandpa's wrong, my father's wrong, my teacher that I learned this from in school is wrong, my church is wrong. When you that's the human part that's responding. I can't just admit this is wrong. I've had this, my whole life, and it's all these people put their, what did he call it? Put their values in me. This is it's a very big hurdle to get over that and admit you're wrong. And the more I tell you you're wrong, the more convinced you will be that you are right. I think that's probably true. So we're going to try to have conversations that don't have that tone in it. I'm right, you're wrong. Let's take that tone out and we will make more progress. And then invest in asking questions. We talked about a lot of questions, powerful questions and all that, and finding out why someone believes what they do. And I think that is a very good strategy. It comes out in our skills in terms of having conversations like that instead of trying to convince them that they're wrong. And I love this last one. If you are not calm, do not respond. And it almost rhymes, doesn't quite rhyme, but it has kind of a ring to it. If you're not calm, it's not the time to respond. I have to remind myself that too sometimes. All right, so um, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, the second part of our homework was just practicing our skills. I shouldn't say just, practicing our skills. And you guys have 4 weeks to do this. We thought we only had 2 weeks, but skill one was listen. Skill two is reflect back, and skill three is that guide them to self-discover using powerful questions and intentionally steering the conversation. And so your homework was to try this out and or just observe, just be aware and write down some examples of your successes or your missteps. Maybe there's some missteps that we can learn from. And go ahead and we'll spend a few minutes debriefing on this. Raise your hand and share some examples of this.
I can kick us off.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca.
I shared last time about listening and reflecting back that I did have a misstep. So I have a teenage daughter, she's 15, and she's going through some stuff right now, as most 15-year-olds are. Um, but there's some mental health stuff going on. And so sometimes that means that it's hard for her to, want to go to school or do her homework or whatever. And so I, there was one day where she was having, she, my husband drove her to school and she didn't want to get out of the car and go inside school. So I asked some powerful questions like, what is holding you back? What do you feel like is holding you back? Um, we did a body scan. So, like, kind of guiding the conversation toward things that might be bothering her. But I wasn't the one saying, like, oh, well, you didn't get a good night's sleep, so you don't feel well. She kind of came to that conclusion herself. So, not politics related at all, but I am finding a lot of parallels that just allow me to talk to my teenager. So, this is good stuff.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. I highly recommend it with teenagers, by the way. Yeah. And what you said was instead of you pointing out all the reasons why you asked the question so she could self-discover, articulate it. So powerful. I don't see any other hands, but Lily Ann, would you be willing to share the one you shared today about, or do you want me to summarize it?
It doesn't matter to me. You can go ahead and summarize it if you wish, but I do have one other area where this communication training is really important. It's with old people and old people who are resistant toward thinking they're not going to die. No, thinking they're going to live forever. And so they don't need to make end of life plans. And so I am using these skills on those people.
Oh, great.
I am. It's very difficult. I thought politics was bad, but I think this is worse. Anyway,
Can,
you share whatever you want.
well,
Thank
can you remember like a specific like question maybe you asked them about it or
the old
the old
people?
people? Yeah, I hate to call them
Yeah.
the old people. I mean,
Okay. Well, these people are pretty old. They're my friends. The question is, let's talk about advance directives. Do we all have those in place? And the resistance is, I don't want to talk about it. I just
Okay.
don't want to talk about it. And so I have to wait a while, circumvent the issue, and try to come back around to it, and then try to reflect back what they said about not wanting to talk about it. Some people really believe they're just not going to die and that they don't need to have any plans in place as they're dying. So it truly is a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Like we've said all along, these are skills, these are general skills, you know. Um, the one that you shared today, Lillian, was about the conversation you had about with a friend about bullies.
Mhm.
And you were talking about bullies in grade school, but then you started saying, you were talking about how, well, adults are just, there's plenty of adults who are bullies. And what you did, this is what I heard you say, is the first person that came to your mind was Trump, right? But instead of saying it,
No, didn't
you
say it.
just went with the concept and kept talking, and then your friend finally said it. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Trump is is a bully. I think he's a bully too, And so that kind of holding back and letting the other person say it and letting them contribute and come to that idea is so much more powerful and so much more, you're going to have more chance of moving the needle that way. So I thought that was beautiful.
Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen.
Well, yeah.
No, but we try. Okay, thanks.
All right, great. We can, if there's no more hands, we can move to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to go through a number of slides that we've seen before from session 1 and 2. I'm going to go fairly quick, but I think it's just getting us in the right mindset of what are we talking about? We want effective conversations. What does that mean? It means each person is heard and understood. The relationship has been preserved and not damaged. And then the goal of the conversation has been met, whatever that goal is. The goal for us is to move the needle, to influence in some small way. We are saving our country, people. So that is our goal. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've talked about move the needle, and this is a great, what I mean by this is we are, all of us on the call are probably active allies, right, of what we're trying to do, save our country. And there are passive allies, people who are kind of on our side, but not really doing anything. There's people neutral. There's people opposing us in a passive way. So they're kind of like, well, I call some people reluctant Trump voters. You know, I'm a Republican, I have to vote for him, kind of stuff. And then there's the active opposition. These are hardcore MAGA types. So no matter who you're talking to, you can move the needle, and we're moving it in the direction towards being an active ally. One of the points that I like to make on this slide is that the effort, some people put so much effort into that hardcore MAGA person and it's just so much effort to get them all the way to active allies. However, if you have somebody who's a reluctant Trump supporter or neutral and just isn't sure, or maybe on our side but still on the couch, those people are so much easier. So I would encourage you to think about where you're spending your effort and your time in your conversations, because it's going to be so much easier to get good results out of some of those groups. And before we go to the next slide, let's think just briefly about how people change their mind. They don't usually change their mind on something big like this in one conversation or with one beautiful comment from you. Something so intelligent. Oh, Carrie, you're so right. I've been wrong my whole life. It just doesn't happen. So what we're trying to do is move the needle just a little bit, and have it add up to reach a tipping point. So you can move to the next slide. And we have our famous games to kind of be a picture for us of the tipping point. So think of it that way. Every little thing you do, every seed you plant, every time you give them a little cognitive dissonance, every time you get them to say Trump is a bully, every time, you know, it adds and adds and adds. And people, that's how people change their mind. They're going to deny it, and then suddenly they make a move. Now, they're not going to move maybe all the way, but they may make a big move from being a Trump supporter to being neutral about it. And suddenly they're just, you know, there's just so much that they're uncomfortable with. Yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable. You know, I'm questioning this. I'm a little ambivalent about it. That's what you're doing. You're moving them in that direction. Okay, next slide, please. And so, oh yeah, this one always makes me laugh because this is my team's quoting me, because I usually say, stop arguing, like that. The point here that I'm trying to make with arguing is that it's just not, when you argue with somebody, what you're causing them to do is take a stand, defend themselves, double down on it, and it's actually making them stronger in their opposition. That's what's happening. And so you're not helping our cause. It's not helping our cause. It's hurting our cause. And so if we can just change that pattern of conversation and not argue and do something else rather than arguing. So the question is really, do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? And we want to be effective. We want to be effectively influencing people and moving the needle. So let's think about why people vote a certain way. You can go to the next slide. And you can go ahead and show all these. These are, I'm not going to talk about them individually, but these are some of the reasons why people vote a certain way. Do you think that most people analyzed Medicaid and analyzed the funding and analyzed foreign policy, and they, did the pros and cons and did a weighted average, and then they decide how to vote? No, that's not how it happens. They have a certain identity. I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a conservative. They have influence of their family. My family's always been Republican. They have a community, or their church is influencing them. It might be one person in their life when they were young that they considered an expert on certain things, and that they've been influenced ever since. A mentor, a professor. They could have one overriding issue that's just coloring everything. I know a lot of people when in the 80s just had to decide pro-life or pro-choice, and they decided one way and they voted that way, and with that party ever since. They can't, that's just the issue that slotted them into one way or the other. And it could be one defining experience. People, survivors of a school shooting that's it. That's going to color everything they do. And so when we're talking to people and having conversations, you may be talking about Medicaid or Social Security or whatever, but this is why they're voting that way. You can argue all you want on the details of that package, but it's probably not going to move. It's probably not going to be significant, because these are the reasons. These are the reasons they're voting. Next slide, please. Oh, these are just a couple of quotes that I found about really this idea that people really decide and then they justify. And there's a lot of research on that. I like this first one. You have a deep desire to be right all of the time. Does that resonate with anybody? Okay, next slide. Okay, these are the 4 skills that we are learning in the workshop. And number 4 is highlighted because that's the one we're going to introduce today. We've talked about skills 1, 2, and 3 in the first 2 sessions and done some practice on them, but we'll continue to use them today. And so you can go on to the next slide. Okay. Oh, these are the slides we use. I just wanted to show that. Please pass the butter. If you missed session 1, Google this little clip. It's very funny. Listening involves not just being silent, but also acknowledging the other person, asking clarifying questions to show you're listening. So it's a very active thing. Next slide is our famous quote from Stephen Covey. He has lots of quotes on this, but listen with the intent to understand, not the intent to reply. It's something that's kind of in my head sometimes when I'm listening to somebody. Am I really listening to understand them? Because it's so easy to just, listen with the intent. I'm going to say this next, right? Okay, next slide, please. This is skill 2. It has some good examples on there. Reflecting back, just taking a little bit of what they say and just some piece of it and reflecting it back to them to continue the conversation. Could be something like, sounds like you really didn't want to take this promotion, yada, yada, yada. Or I can see this is really upsetting. This is for you. It's just reflecting back that stuff to continue the conversation. Next slide, please. Skill 3, we spent a lot of time on this. The 2 main pieces of this is, again, asking, let me say it this way, guiding them to self-discover instead of trying to tell them things. Tell them this is how it is, or this is what I see. So you're guiding them and you're using powerful questions and you're steering the conversation a certain way. Next slide will kind of tell us a little bit more about powerful questions, especially if you miss this session. They are open-ended. They invite the person to introspect, to think about things. You're asking them about their insights or what they value, and you're enabling them to self-discover. Next slide, please. Is deep canvassing. Deep canvassing is a whole kind of technique, and I'm just kind of borrowing one key. It's a very key part of it, which is explore their personal experiences. And so this is very helpful. I use it a lot in political conversations, as well as other types. But I mean, when they're stating things, if you just ask, when did you first start to feel that way? When did you first learn about that? Do you have an experience that kind of impacted why you believe that? Tell me about when, that happened to you. Those types of things bring it into the personal, and it's a very good way to have a conversation and uncover some things. Next slide. And steering the conversation. You're watching for words, phrases, ideas, or emotions. You're asking those powerful questions. And again, doing that, asking them to explore their personal experiences. Okay, next slide. So that was a very, very quick summary of a lot of things that we've learned in the last few sessions and practiced. And the last skill, I'm just going to introduce it tonight. And then in 2 weeks, when we have our fourth session, we're going to unpack it more and do some practice. So I called this one Ask Permission to Share, but that's kind of like the last step of it. It's really about, before you give advice, before you solve the person's problem for them, okay? Before you give your own opinion, give your perspective, tell your experience, before you do any of those things, you want to, if you want it to be the most effective that you can, you want to prepare the other person to hear, validate that they're ready, and then ask permission. And it sounds something like this when you do it. They're talking about something, you think they're prepared, you think they're ready to hear you, and you say, "Oh yes, I've had a similar experience. Would it help to hear about it?" And then you can also add on now or later. I like the now or later. It's not just a candy. Isn't that a candy? Now or later, something like that. But it also helps if you put now or later at the end, it's really giving them agency in a way to kind of say, "Yeah, I want to hear about it, but let's do that later." Because it is hard for them to say, "No, I don't want to hear about what you had to say." They might say it. I have had people say it, but it's just a nicer way to do it. Or it also sounds something like, I read about that in a book once. Would you like to hear what I learned?" Now, and then you can add on, "Would you like to hear now or later?" So, like I said, we're going to unpack that quite a bit next time. You can think about it a little bit because I'll probably be asking for thoughts. But I guess my last point on this one is something for you to think about. If somebody says they've been talking on and on about what they think for 10 minutes, and then at the end they go, "And what do you think about it?" Okay. You think, "Oh, well, they want to know my opinion." Okay, maybe they do and maybe they don't. Okay. So I have had many experiences, many, where they say, "What do you think?" And they're not really ready. Okay. You haven't prepared them. You haven't built enough trust. They're trying to argue. They might try to start argument. And one way I know is when I start talking, if they interrupt me to tell me how they don't agree, well, that just showed they're not ready yet. They're not ready. We have to do this stuff to prepare the other person to hear. And I'm going to say one more thing. I know I was just going to say one more thing. I do not think this skill is absolutely needed. I would say 9 out of 10 of my conversations just use skill 1, 2, and 3. And I don't have to tell my opinion to somebody to move the needle. And so I just want to, I'm going to stress that next time too. This is a skill, I use it, but it is not needed for you to interject your opinion on something to influence the other person. If you ask powerful questions and kind of get them to figure stuff out and are very light and soft with your approach, they can get to a place where where you move the needle without having to share your opinion. So that is all I have on skill 4. Until next time, let's jump into next slide, which is the 7 ways to avoid an argument. And like I said, I'm excited about this material because it's brand new. And it came from you guys, many of you guys, conversations about this. So, these ways to avoid an argument, many of them are for any kind of conversation you're having, but there's a few of them that are pretty specific to political conversations. So first of all, what is an argument? Let me define it. It is just a pattern of conversation. It's just a pattern of your conversation. And the pattern is that you're negating each other. Negate, 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 negate. That's the pattern that's happening. That's what I call an argument. And I want to share the 2 examples the good and bad example from our very first session, just to remind us what it looks like. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, I am not going to have Dr. Chris role play this with me as we did the first time. What I'm going to do is just let you read this. I'm going to time 30 seconds for myself and just let you read it. Okay, there's my timer. So this is a conversation. I actually got this from a movie, but it was a conversation between a mother and a son. I guess I should have told you that before, but and they're talking about moving to Cleveland. And the reason this is kind of is an argument is because the pattern of it is the mother is saying Cleveland's good and the son is saying no, Cleveland is bad. Cleveland's good. I want to move there. No, Cleveland is bad. I don't want to move there. Cleveland is good. Cleveland is bad. And it just goes back and forth. They're negating each other. That's the argument that's happening. And it's not going anywhere fast, as you can tell. The statement that started the argument, we talked about this when we first saw it, is the statement that says, no, Cleveland is a big, dirty city. That is a statement that started the argument. Now, as Jefferson Fisher says, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. So the response, you do not have to respond in a way that argues. So let's look at the next slide. And this is a response that doesn't create an argument. And I'll just let you read the slide. Give you 30 seconds. There's the timer. Okay, so same start to the conversation, same start of the argument. No, Cleveland is a big dirty city. But she responds in a way that does not engage. She does not engage. She does not accept the invitation to argue about Cleveland. Instead, she says, what are you concerned about with moving to Cleveland? Which is a powerful question. And so this is just one of those it's a non-political example, which is one reason I like it, but it's just a kind of an example of what I mean by argument and how not to engage. So let's go to the next slide. And we're going to go through the 7 ways. The first way is set the tone. And there's that statement again that I liked from it actually came from the video. If you're not calm, do not respond. So your response, this is like, I coach so many people and they're like, well, he started it. He started the argument. Yeah, he did, but you didn't have to engage. Okay. Right. So, you're responsible for the tone of the conversation, the pattern and the progress. Each person is, and you can stop it at any time. If they become combative, you can just don't engage, don't take the bait. If they become emotional and upset and you feel it escalating, you can calm it down. You calm it down with lots of different ways, but talking softer and slower will calm it down as well. You think you want to, you raise your voice and get in control of it, but really, if you talk softer, they have to lean in to listen, and it does really work. Okay, so make sure you're thinking about the tone of the conversation and setting it the best way. Okay, next slide, please. Number 2 is yes and. Yes and is a technique from, you may recognize it, from improv comedy. And so I don't know if I can explain how it's used in improv comedy, but in conversations, it's you're picking something off that they're saying, and you're showing some agreement or some positivity about it, and then instead of saying but, you say and. Okay, so I agree that I agree that that promotion was a good opportunity, and also blah blah blah. If you say yes, but it really contradicts it. So another example is, yes, I see what you mean, and blah blah blah. That's a great idea, and we can make it stronger by yada yada. So that's really adding on to the idea. But you start with, that's a great idea. I can see that this is important to you, and so you're trying not to negate and you're trying to add on. And so this is a little different from acknowledgement. Acknowledgement just kind of is saying, yes, I hear you. This is more kind of showing some level of agreement with something that they said. Sometimes you can pick off a part of what they said and show some agreement with it as you move forward. So, and you're trying not to use the word but. I like the word and also, substituting that. And by the way, if you guys watch the weekly chat with Leah and Ezra on Thursday afternoons? If you're in Indivisible, you may be aware of this. Leah says and also a lot. You can see her pause. She'll be saying something and then she'll go, and also. And so on. See if you can catch that. It's really fun. Okay. Don't negate. Try yes and. Don't do yes but. That's a fallacy with this. We say yes, agree, and then we use the word but. It kind of cancels it out. Also, don't use however or although, or the other one is like and furthermore. Yeah, none of those are good. Try and also. Next slide, please. Okay, this is way number 3 to avoid an argument. And this was named by a close friend of mine because I was explaining this concept and she said, oh, you mean soften it? And I said, yes, soften it. That's what we're trying to do, soften it. And so this idea is that when you are definite about something, when you put something out there as definite, it invites the ability to disagree with it. If you just soften it a little bit, the conversation may not get into an argument. And so, I had a recent meeting where somebody, we were reviewing a white paper, and somebody spoke up and said, hey, this part in here, this is incorrect. We need to change this. Okay, then the whole meeting explodes with people taking sides, whether it's correct or incorrect, and it's all this, right? And it came from that very definite, this is incorrect, that definite statement. And if this person had approached it in a way of, hey, I kind of paused at this one point in here. It didn't quite resonate with me. Maybe I'm missing something. What do you guys think? That softens it. It softens it in a way that doesn't provoke this definite, taking sides. So when you are stating things, when you're saying this is correct and I'm right and this is the way it is and here's the facts and those types of things, you're setting it up to be easily argued with. So we soften it with words like probably, might, oh, that might be true. And also, let's talk about this, or some people, instead of saying, I think this, you could soften it with saying, well, some people say da 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 da. What do you think about that? Another way is just saying, I'm not sure, but I think this is what I heard, yada yada. So those are some ways to soften it. I would oh, we don't have a thing on here to get your feedback on that, but anyways, I was going to ask for your feedback, but you can if you have some other ideas, you can throw that in the chat. I always look at the chat afterwards, so that'd be great. Of other ways to soften things. You can go to the next slide. Thank you, please. Okay, this one is pretty specific to political conversations, and it's kind of a long one, but I named it Give Permission to See More Than Two Sides. And here's what it sounds like. First example is two things can be true at once. Okay, have you heard this recently? I've been hearing this more and more. But somebody's bringing up some topic and you start off with two things can be true at once. That's giving permission for us to talk about this issue and hold disparate things in our minds at the same time. Another way to do it is say it's a false narrative that there are only two solutions. I use those same words every time somebody asks me, what do you think about the abortion issue? Are you pro-life or pro-choice? It's a false narrative that there's just two options here. Okay, that's how I'm opening up this conversation about abortion. Everyone in the situation could have done better. I like that one. That's one I've said recently. When people are trying to argue and take sides about what just happened and who's right and who was wrong in certain things. And I just said it recently with some of the ICE conversations I've been in. Everyone in the situation could have done better. So let's talk about that. Will you accept that premise that there's not two sides here and that you have to pick a side? Okay, great. Let's talk about what ICE could do better. Let's talk about what protesters can do better. Let's just talk about that and see if we can make progress and move the needle. That, by the way, has been very successful for me lately. Another comment that I commonly use is we can find a solution that solves all concerns. Let's try to do that. Let's try to find a solution here that's solving both of these things, these two concerns. So I would like you guys' feedback at this point. Have you heard other things that are giving us permission to see more than two sides? Other ways to say this. Raise your hand, or you could write it in the chat if you have an idea.
I'll go back to my example with my daughter. So this is kind of combining yes and this permission to see more than two sides. We're practicing not saying but in our house. We're saying, yes, I understand that you're tired, and you still have to go to school. So both of those things are true, and we somehow have to navigate between them, and we're calling it the middle path. That's the middle path between these two oppositional realities that we got to somehow navigate.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's a perfect example. Anyone else can think of a situation or another way to say this? Oh, we have a hand up. Good. I see Beth Holland has her hand up.
Right. I think I'm down here.
Oh, there you go. Hi.
Yeah. I have a small paper I get from my hometown, and in the letters to the editor, there are two people that are arguing back and forth about the ICE, quote, let's say, murders in Minneapolis. One person blames the victims, the other person doesn't. I don't know if he's really, I think he probably does blame ICE. I don't remember exactly. But I like to think about using something that you just mentioned, like everybody could have done, maybe everybody could have done better, something like that.
Oh, great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was thinking about that one. It's sort of like, yes, the protesters are not supposed to block ICE, and ICE could be less aggressive in order to not have have anybody get hurt. I don't know, something
Yeah,
like
maybe you could also say something like, can we try looking at this another way or something like that? I'm not sure.
that. Yeah,
Anyway.
that's great. Yes. Melissa has her hand up. Thanks, Beth.
I think sometimes people can use going to another level that unites things or using paradoxical intention. I was thinking of having seen James Tallarico on one of the evening night shows and meeting with someone and they would say, "Oh, but I think we should have the Ten Commandments in all the schools." And he says, I really believe in the Ten Commandments and it wasn't and I don't I feel like it doesn't do justice to spirituality to have that you know to combine like school and like in other words there was to combine church and state isn't respectful to religion, so something like that but the person he was talking to just absolutely agreed with him then once he was like this overarching concept, which is very hard to do, but if you can do it, it's great.
Yeah, I like so much of what you said. That was a yes and. I agree that with the Ten Commandments, but see, I said but.
Listen to but,
Oh
right.
my gosh,
And
it's so
I
easy.
don't want it in the
And I
school
know
because, yeah.
exactly. Perfect. Great example of that. And I also like what you said about going to a higher level. Sometimes you can just like it's this overarching thing that you're trying to argue about. Let's bring it up or bring it down to a different level. And we'll kind of touch on that also in a bit. We did have the timer go off, and I don't see any more hands. Thank you, Melissa. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this one is number 5 out of 7. So hold space for them to agree. And it's enabled by some of the stuff we've already talked about, but it's just a concept that don't set it up so that it's hard for them to change their mind or come towards you or come towards your position. You want to hold space for them to be able to come towards you. You can go to the next piece of this slide. And this is a quote from, it's the art of war. But anyways, I do like what the concept here. Build your opponent a golden bridge to retreat across. Some of you may have heard that before. I've heard that quote before. It's about allowing them to retreat, allowing them to save face. And don't back them into a corner. Don't say like, here's what I think, see what I mean? Don't you agree? You're pressing them into a place where it's going to be hard for them to think about it and move the needle, change their mind in some small way. So just a concept for you to think about. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Number 6 is go hypothetical. And this came out of a conversation also with one of you. So instead of arguing the specifics of a situation, something happens and this happened and that happened and this is right and this is wrong, you can go hypothetical. And this is kind of what Melissa was talking about, it going to a different level, going to a higher level. But you go hypothetical and ask what their opinion would be if something was true. So this is what it sounds like. And I'm going to use something that came out of my mouth when I was talking about the shooting of Renee Good in Minneapolis. And people were arguing about the details. She did this and the officer did this and whatever. And I just said, I'm not sure what happened yet. I'm really not sure what happened. And by the way, a jury hopefully will decide what happened, have to decide, not me. But what I do know is that if she was really trying to drive away, I might feel a certain way. So what would you think if she was trying to drive away from and steering the car away from him? Do you think she deserved to be shot? And so you bring it from arguing about what she did or he did or whatever to, if it was this, what is your opinion? And most people are going to say, no, she didn't deserve to be shot in that situation. Or you could say, and the officer, if he thought, I don't know whether he thought he was going to get hit or not, but what if he did? If he did think he was going to get hit, then did it justify this? And if he didn't think he was going to be hit by the car, did it justify him shooting? And so talking about it more in a hypothetical way will get at people's values, and you could have a better discussion rather than arguing about what did or did not happen. So I hope I explained that well. You can go to the next slide. This is number 7. Observations, not evaluations. I use this a lot at work when I talk about feedback, and I'm going to give you an example of this. So the way to avoid an argument is to try to make your statement neutral, and you make it neutral by saying I observe something rather than I think something. Okay, and the classic example I like to use is if you say to somebody, there was a team meeting and somebody told this person told a joke. Let's give some names to it. Sally told a joke. And afterward you say, hey, I think your joke, not even I think, let me rephrase that. Sally, your joke offended Joe. Okay, that's an evaluation. And it's possible that Sally's going to respond with, no, I didn't. Right? Now you're in an argument about whether Joe was offended by the joke, which, by the way, neither one of you know the answer to. Okay, so that's an evaluation and not as good as this, which is an observation. Sally, I noticed when you told that joke, everybody laughed except for Joe. So that's an observation. That's what I observed. Hopefully Sally will go, oh, really? And then you can have more of a conversation about it. So that's an example, a work-related example. And we have 2 other examples. There's more audience participation. You can go to the next slide. Let's test our understanding of this. Which is an observation, A or B? You can put it in the chat. Okay, I can see the chat this time, so I don't have to ask the chat monitor. I think it's unanimous that it is B, so that's great. You never clean him up after yourself. You're so inconsiderate is an evaluation and a label, and you probably have just started an argument right there. Versus, and I'm observing that there are still dishes in the sink from last night. Next slide. Let's try it one more time. Another example. Which one of these is an observation? A or B? It's a little more diverse, the answers, but A is the observation. So you looked at your phone while I was talking. I'm observing that. You looked at your phone while I was talking. B is more of an evaluation. You aren't listening to me. Well, do you know if they're listening or not? You know, maybe they are listening. It's more of an evaluation. It's also the accusation. So again, probably not a good statement. Okay, that's great practice. And let's move on to the next slide. We are about to head into our breakout rooms. But just a summary, these are the 7 ways to avoid an argument. It's not the only ones, of course. These are not mutually exclusive, and you could be using multiple ones at the same time. I'm going to give you a little bit of an example, okay? And I'm going to use the statement, the earth is flat. How would you respond if somebody says, the earth is flat? So you could respond with, no, it isn't. The earth is round. And as we all know, now you're in an argument about whether it's flat or round. So how could we answer it differently? One way is, okay, the earth, somebody says the earth is flat. You say, oh, some people think the earth is round. That was a softener. You just softened it a little. Rather than state definitely the earth is round, you softened it. Some people think it's round. Let's make that even better. How about, that's so interesting because some people think the earth is round. When did you first come to think that the earth was flat? Okay, so that's better. You started with an acknowledgement. That's interesting. You continued with a softener, some people think. And then you ended with a powerful question. When did you first come to think that the earth was flat? Okay, so that's an example. One more, yes, and you could say, yes, I have heard some people say the earth is flat, and also I've heard some people think it is round. So that's a yes and example. Okay, I have a few more, but I think you guys get the idea. Now, next step is going into our breakout rooms. So next slide, please. It's just a group discussion. We're not going to do role play as we did the last 2 times. So this is just a group discussion. I'm going to give you 3 statements, and you're going to work as a group and use these 7 ways to avoid an argument. Also, you can use acknowledging and reflecting back powerful questions. Use all our skills we've learned, and just come up with some responses to these statements that will avoid an argument. I think at this point we say, are there any questions? And you can raise your hand if you have any questions about this group exercise. All right, I'm not seeing any hands raised. So we can go ahead. You'll have 8 minutes in your breakout sessions. Have fun.
Okay, so it's just us chickens now.
Okay.
I can't. Uh, can you hear me, Rebecca,
Mm-hmm.
and people watching YouTube?
So there's no
I,
timer.
right.
Um, it was in the options.
Right.
Um,
I'm looking at that. That's something I had to set up before opening the rooms, I'm gathering.
yeah, so
Okay. So
um,
broadcast.
I'm sharing the slide to the rooms.
Okay.
Broadcast is what you use when you want to send a little message to them.
Okay. Well, I can send a message telling them how much time I just set my own. I set the regular timer for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it looks like there's still people here. Um, Not in their rooms, but
Yeah, sometimes people, for whatever reason, I think when people maybe are on their phones or something, you have to click accept or go to room or something. And that doesn't always happen. So it's okay.
I'm going to be broadcasting that there are 6 minutes left. Okay, go on. Oh, shoot. I didn't assign any of the co-hosts to go anywhere.
I had sent them.
Oh,
I sent
good.
them. So there's about 2.5 minutes left.
Yep, I just sent a 3-minute warning, I believe. Is there a way to look to see if that's there? Or just have to pop in?
I saw it come up when you sent
Okay.
it.
Okay.
How many Zoom rooms do we have operating?
You mean
We-
breakout rooms?
Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, 5.
5. Okay.
Hey, somebody's offering to pay me for this. Did you see that comment, you guys? Paid lectureship.
Wow,
You should do it.
that's nice.
Kara, do you want me to go easier on the mental health talk? It's just, there's so much overlap that
No, I think your examples were so great.
Yeah.
And I want them they should be practicing with non-political topics first. Oh man. So I love it.
well,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're down to less than a minute. And since I didn't set a timer for the rooms to end or for them to think about ending, I don't remember how to do that, Rebecca.
so when you're ready to close the rooms in 30 seconds or whatever, you'll find the breakout options in your menu. And then
Right. Yeah, I still have it open. So just close all rooms, but that doesn't
that'll
seem to.
kick everybody out of their breakout rooms and back into our main session here.
Okay.
You may want to give them like 30 seconds of grace time just to wrap up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'd say that's about 30 seconds. I don't need to notify them again.
Nope, we can just bring them back.
Okay. Close all rooms.
Oh, and it says all breakout rooms will
Oh,
close in 51 seconds.
yeah. I just saw that. Right. Is that broadcast to them as well? That is, because I know I've seen that before. Okay.
We're
Thank you,
starting to
Rebecca.
trickle back in. All right. We're back up to 40 something folks here in the main room. So folks are coming on in. I think we're all back together now.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone for what a smooth breakout session. wanted to just debrief just a little. Go ahead and raise your hand if you came up with something that was really a good response to these, or if you had other feedback on this exercise, like did you learn something from kind of struggling with your responses on this? Any comments? Carolyn has her hand up.
I learned that I need more practice. I
Good.
I mean, I understood what you were saying, but I
Yeah.
couldn't even construct a response. That there was one person in our group that was really good at the open-ended questions, and
Yeah.
so I would have to like have a cheat sheet. I'd be like, what's her name, Bondi. I'd be looking through my book.
That's so funny. I will say that it does take practice, and it will become more and more natural, and it can become automatic. I swear, you guys. And I do always recommend start practicing these with non-political topics, and until they're smoother. That's a good way to start. And I'll say one more thing. I have multiple people that we've written out exact responses to inflammatory things, and they have a little card in their wallet, and they go, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom," and then they go look at their wallet. What do I respond? So don't worry about that.
Oh, so
Bruce,
give myself a couple of minutes to figure it out.
yes, absolutely. That's so funny.
Yeah. Because I could get to the positive part and say that part, but then the and or the
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wasn't good at that.
Okay. Thanks, Carolyn. Bruce is next.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we missed the time elements. So we were struggling, but we were struggling with a lot of them. But I thought of something afterwards on number 2, which would be something like, well, I observed 16-year-old Johnny with a gun.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
But we didn't get through it because I missed seeing the time constraints.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. Chris has her hand up.
Mute here. Yeah, so I think it was Carolyn that mentioned this. I am the Carolyn that needs the cheat sheet. I need the examples modeled, and then I need to like learn some of those common questions or the way you can start it. So what I did while we were on this session is I took a jab at developing a cheat sheet and I put it in the chat. So anyway, you guys can grab it. Let me know what you think. I would, if I had more time, I would use more of the examples that Kara gave us verbally that aren't necessarily on the slides because I need that. I just need that reinforcement so I can practice it.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for the cheat sheet, Chris. And maybe we'll even, use it next time when we debrief next session. Joe, your hand is up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to report on some things. We really gravitated to the concept of giving permission to more than two sides. For both 1 and 2, a popular response was, that's a really complicated issue.
Perfect.
And the other one that we used was going hypothetical. So somebody suggested, what when we talk about guns, what are we talking about? What is a gun? Is it a bazooka? Is it so taking it from we want to protect guns to almost, it's a safety thing. And then using softeners was another popular approach. So it was a good discussion.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I love that. That's that first one, like it's a complicated issue. That is giving permission to see more than two sides. You could start that with any of these, actually, right? And so that's perfect. Anybody else with their hands up? Okay. I wrote out some of my responses too. I did want to mention just like the climate change is a hoax. I mean, even just like saying, oh yeah, when did you first, when did you first start believing that? Or when did you first hear about that is a good way to start it out. Number two, yes, I don't want any encroachment on the Second Amendment. And also, I wish we could prevent more school shootings. That's a yes and kind of thing. So, anyways, those were some of my responses that I thought of off the top of my head. I did my own breakout session. Any other thoughts before we wrap up? Okay, thanks so much. We will go to the next slide because we have homework. I have another video. This is Celeste Headley. It's also a TED Talk, How to Make America Talk Again, and just beware, you'll pick it up. But it was taped right after the first time Trump was elected, but it's still so very relevant and moving. This is the TED Talk that made me tear up, you guys, this last week, which, I was really sappy for some reason for a couple days. I don't know. But I think that's a really great video for us to debrief next time. Our practice is, again, at least 3 times, or more if you can. Hold a conversation where you're intentionally using these skills that we have learned, all of them. The 7 ways to avoid arguments and the all 4 of the skills that we've learned. And then also, I want you to watch for arguments as they're happening. Become aware of when people are talking. Oh, that's an argument. I'll tell you one, maybe I've mentioned it before, but it's so hilarious. I'm sitting there with a friend of mine and her spouse, and they're arguing about a broom. I'm not kidding you. Where's the broom? Why do you think I know where the broom is? Da 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 da. It's an argument, okay? Now, this is a great marriage. I'm not saying that. But you'll see, if you just kind of think of that pattern, the negate and the negate and the negate kind of pattern, you'll start to see it everywhere. And again, all arguments are not a big problem, but we're learning to be aware of them and how to avoid them in political conversations. So that is your homework. And I guess I'm going to pause. Any questions on the homework? We usually pause. Okay, I don't see any questions. Next slide is, these are the books. These are my 2 recommended books. I learned the majority of my stuff. These are the 2 books that got me started on this whole communication stuff. So I do recommend both of those if you are a reader. Next slide is just general Q&A. We are out of time, which I had hoped that there was more time for just general questions from everyone. But we always seem to go right up to the time. I will tell you, spoiler alert, for next session, there is going to be less material, and we are going to have a lot of time for Q&A where we can talk about specific things that you're experiencing, and I can answer questions about approaches. So we will definitely reserve some time for that. The other spoiler alert for next time is I am working on a Dr. Seuss poem called What I Wish I Would Have Said, and we'll see if I finish it and give it to you next time. Are there any general questions? Raise your hand, please. Or anything in the chat. I know there's a couple of people watching the chat. Is there anything in the chat that is urgent that I really need to answer? Okay, next slide, please.
Don't see anything in the okay.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Thanks again for your participation. Thank you to the entire production team. I do so little. Rebecca, Chris, Bill, and all the moderators and everybody, Beth, do all the rest. So thank you to the production crew. And our 4th session is in 2 weeks, March 23rd. Thanks and have a good